From a nebula shaped like a question mark to planets orbiting a pulsar that should have wiped them out, and mysterious material called nuclear pasta that's stronger than anything we've ever seen. These are things found in space that shouldn't be there. The cosmic question mark is one of the strangest objects we've ever found in space. Discovered in 2007, you can see where this thing gets its name. Now, what exactly is it though? Well, it's a nebula, which are giant clouds of gas and dust. Some nebula are the birthplaces of stars, others are actually leftovers from stars that have died and exploded. But back to the cosmic question mark specifically, this nebula is part of a much larger structure called the RCW 120 Nebula, which is around 4,000 light years away. The nebula got its question mark shape because of the way the gas and dust are distributed around a central star, which is blasting out energy and causing the surrounding material to be shaped into that very distinctive curve. It looks so uncanny though. Looks like a clue left behind by a science fiction version of the Riddler. We don't really see many nebula like this one. Most nebula are pretty spread out or have a more random shape, so this one definitely stands out. Pulsars are some of the most extreme objects in space. These are highly magnetized, rotating neutron stars, which are basically the remains of massive stars that have exploded. Now, we found something even more mind-blowing though: pulsar planets. These are planets that orbit pulsars, and they probably shouldn't exist at all. Here's why. Pulsars are incredibly dense and give off intense radiation, which is bad news for any nearby planet. The radiation should fry anything in the vicinity, making it impossible for planets to form or survive, but yet, in 1992, astronomers discovered a planet orbiting a pulsar called PSR B1257+12, spotted about 1,000 light years away. And not just one planet, but three. They orbit the pulsar at incredibly close distances, and even though the pulsar blasts out radiation and particles, these planets somehow made it. The discovery was so unexpected that scientists weren't sure what to make of it at first. How could planets survive in such hostile conditions? Their existence raises a huge question too. If planets can endure the chaos of a supernova and orbit a dead star, what else might be out there clinging to life in the most impossible places? Deep inside a neutron star where gravity crushes matter with unimaginable force, something truly bizarre forms: nuclear pasta, which is exactly as weird as it sounds. It's made of atomic nuclei, which are these super dense cores of atoms. Normally, atoms have a nucleus made of protons and neutrons with electrons floating around them, but in a neutron star, the pressure is so intense that atoms get squished together, stripping away the electrons and leaving only the raw, crammed together nuclei. Now, instead of staying in neat little spheres, these nuclei get forced into strange pasta-like shapes, and it's the strongest known material in the universe. A piece the size of a sugar cube would weigh more than 1 billion tons. That's how insanely dense this stuff is. Scientists think nuclear pasta forms in the crust of neutron stars, and because these stars have insanely strong magnetic fields, this weird material might be responsible for some of their strangest behavior, like sudden bursts of energy or weird glitches in their spin. We'll probably never get our hands on a piece of it, but studying it could help us understand the insane forces at play inside dead stars. Fermi Bubbles are two absolutely massive blobs of energy stretching above and below the center of the Milky Way, each about 25,000 light years tall, basically the same size as our entire galaxy's disk, and somehow we didn't even know they existed until 2010. They don't give off visible light, so the only reason we found them at all is because they've been blasting out high energy gamma rays. So what are they? The best guess is that they're leftovers from some kind of ancient explosion. Maybe Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the heart of the galaxy, gobbled up a huge amount of gas and then fired off an enormous burst of energy millions of years ago. Another idea is that they formed during a period of intense star formation where the new stars sent out powerful winds that carved them into shape. Whatever happened, the Fermi Bubbles are proof that the Milky Way's core hasn't always been quiet. Something big happened ages ago, and we're still seeing the after effects today. Tabby's star is one of the weirdest stars we've ever seen. It's about 1,470 light years away in the Cygnus constellation, and it's famous for doing something stars just aren't supposed to do. It dims in a way that makes no sense. Most of the time, when a star's brightness drops, it's because a planet orbits in front of it. That's normal, but Tabby's star doesn't follow any predictable pattern. Sometimes it dims by 15%, other times by nearly 22%, and it stays that way for random lengths of time before brightening again. That's just way too much dimming to be caused by a planet, and no natural explanation fully accounts for it. One idea is that a massive swarm of comets is blocking the light, but that doesn't quite fit the data. The wildest theory is that there is a Dyson sphere, an enormous structure surrounding the star designed to harvest its energy. That might sound like a stretch, but whatever's going on, it's not like anything we've ever seen before. When you think of planets and rings, Saturn is the obvious go-to, but in 2017 astronomers discovered that Haumea, a dwarf planet way out in the Kuiper belt, has its own ring system, making it the first known dwarf planet to have one. That's weird enough on its own, but Haumea is already a strange little world. For starters, it's shaped like this elongated egg, as you can see. Thanks to how fast it spins, it completes a full rotation in just under 4 hours. That's ridiculously fast for something its size, and it's probably the reason why its ring exists in the first place. Haumea's ring is only about 43 miles or 70 kilometers wide, and it orbits at a distance of about 1,400 miles or 2,300 kilometers from the dwarf planet itself. It also happens to line up almost perfectly with Haumea's equator, which means it might have formed from a past collision. Maybe some ancient impact threw debris into orbit and over time it's settled into a ring, but if that's the case, why don't more dwarf planets have rings? Haumea might not be as lonely as we think though. If this tiny, fast spinning world has a ring, there is a strong possibility that other distant objects could have them too. We just haven't found them yet. Haumea also has 2 moons, which might help keep its ring in place, either by influencing its orbit or preventing the ring particles from drifting away. The Great Attractor is one of the biggest mysteries in astronomy. It's an enormous gravitational anomaly, meaning it's pulling galaxies toward it, including our own Milky Way. And it's happening at incredibly fast speeds. The pull is so strong that entire clusters of galaxies are moving toward it at around 14 million miles per hour. Strangely though, we can't actually see it. It's hidden behind the zone of avoidance, a region of the sky blocked by the Milky Way's thick clouds of dust and stars. And that means we know something is there, we're not totally sure what it is. Scientists think the Great Attractor could be some kind of massive supercluster of galaxies, but even that might not fully explain its ridiculous pull. Whatever's lurking in that blind spot though, it's reshaping the movements of entire galaxies, including our own. Galaxy X. That sounds like something out of a 1950s alien invasion movie, but it is real. It's what astronomers call a dark galaxy, meaning it barely emits any light. And that's a bit strange because galaxies are usually packed with stars and gas and dust, things that do glow. Galaxy X, though, is practically invisible. The only reason we know it exists is because of how it tugs on the Milky Way's outer stars. Back in 2009, astronomers noticed something weird. A group of stars was moving in a way that didn't make sense. Something massive had to be pulling on them, but nothing was there. That's when scientists realized an entire hidden galaxy might be lurking nearby. Galaxy X is thought to be made of mostly dark matter, which is believed to be this strange invisible substance that makes up most of the universe's mass, but doesn't interact with light. So far, we haven't seen Galaxy X directly, but the math checks out. It should be there. If it is real, it could help us understand how galaxies form and how dark matter really works. Space is full of strange sights, but the Red Rectangle Nebula is definitely one of the weirdest. Located about 2,000 light years away in the Monoceros constellation, this nebula stands out because of its very unique shape. The red rectangle has what kind of shape? Yes, rectangular, gold star. It's not actually a perfect rectangle, but from our vantage point, it sure looks like one. The odd shape is believed to be caused by a binary star system at its center. These 2 stars are surrounded by a thick disk of dust and gas that gets illuminated, creating the bright red glow that we see. But it's not just the shape that's strange. The red rectangle also has a pair of mysterious bright lobes extending outward from the center. Scientists still aren't exactly sure what's causing them, but one theory is that the binary stars are blasting out radiation and matter, which creates these lobe thingies. In 2017, astronomers spotted something weird flying through the solar system. It was a long cigar-shaped object moving way too fast to be anything recognizable. They named it Oumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout or messenger, and that's because this thing turned out to have come from very, very far away. It was the first known interstellar object to pass through our solar system, and not only did it look strange, but it accelerated as it left, which is not what space rocks usually do. Comets speed up because sunlight melts all the ice off of them, creating this jet-like effect. But Oumuamua didn't have a visible tail. There was no gas, no dust. It was just this silent, unexplained motion. That's why some scientists, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, seriously considered the idea that it might have been an alien probe. Fortunately, we only got to watch Oumuamua for a few weeks before it disappeared, leaving behind a lot more questions than answers. All that said, I've been your host James, and I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.